Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 161 of the Debt Free Dad podcast. So let me ask you, do you feel dumb when it comes to money? And no, I'm not kidding. Maybe you're embarrassed of your financial situation or maybe some of your past mistakes. Maybe you have some big regrets. And this is something that many of us struggle with. So how do you get past these feelings and build more confidence? We're going to talk about it on today's show. Stay tuned.
You're listening to the Debt Free Dad podcast with Brad Nelson. Brad and his co-hosts experience the anxiety of living paycheck to paycheck before learning the fundamentals of financial security. They are now on a mission to empower regular people to pay off their debt for good and enjoy happier, less stressful lives. Keep listening for inspirational interviews, tips, tricks, and practical advice to gain financial freedom.
Hey, how's everyone doing today? You can find me on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. Just search Brad Nelson, Debt Free Dad. And as always, welcome to today's show. Remember to get all the resources, show notes, and links from today's show. You can head over to balancesense.com/161. That's BALANCEDCENTS.com/161. So last episode, we talked a lot about financial stress and how to get out of financial stress and maybe even build more financial confidence, which, surprise, surprise, is what this week's episode is all about. And I got to tell you, when I first started my journey in getting out of debt, I was not confident at all. After being beat down so many times and just so many poor decisions about money and the stupid decisions I made with credit cards and cars, and it was just confidence and finances. They didn't go hand in hand for me. What about all of you guys?
I was sitting in a place where it was just like, this is just normal and I'm always going to be broke.
Right.
And I didn't have any confidence to do anything different. I was just like, meh, this is just who we are. And that's how we grew up. And that's how we'll always be.
Yeah.
And that's where I was stuck for a long time.
That broke mindset is a real place.
Oh, it's awful.
Yep.
Well, I mean, it's easy to be stuck there because it's normal, right? And I think that's why there's a lot of camaraderie and people to turn to when you say, hey, I can't pay my bills. And they're like, no problem, buddy, let's get a beer. None of us can, And
right.
It's
so
scary to feel like, man, I'm just part of the group.
Yeah. It's scary to try something new and that not everybody's doing. It's like, that's whoa, what are you doing?
I like how you use the word camaraderie. If, there's we're on TikTok and we've been posting videos there for quite some time, most of this past year. And I'll see videos that'll pop up from time to time where people are like, spoofing or kind of making fun of how broke they are. And the likes and the comments are just like, yeah, I'm there with you. Yeah, same thing. Like, totally can relate to that. It's just a lot of these videos get a lot of attention. And there is almost that show of support and camaraderie of that broke mindset.
What's the old saying? Misery loves company.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't be too bad if he's like me.
Right.
I need a loan to buy these eggs.
That's no joke right now. That's no joke.
I've seen TikToks like that. Going to the bank. Can I get a loan for these eggs?
For the eggs? Yeah, right.
But it's because we all kind of feel it. Like, you feel the stress and the anxiety of the financial issues that we're all facing, whether you're in debt or not in debt. We're all kind of seeing it. We're just not stressing as much because we aren't in debt, right?
Yeah.
I saw one that said, you know what's bad when a dozen eggs are more expensive than a gallon of gas?
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that one too. The eggs ones are pretty good. I like the egg ones. But it's ridiculous how much eggs are right now. But anyways, today we want to talk a little bit about building this confidence because this is super important. There's a lot of benefits of building your financial confidence. And this is going to come with time. It's not going to be something where you're going to be confident like immediately. But number one, I mean, you're just going to feel better. And obviously with confidence, you're going to have a lot more opportunities too, because things are going to open up for you where you're going to be able to be more confident with your financial decisions, the way you've been managing your money. If you've been doing some of the stuff that we're talking about on this show, with time and consistency comes results, and with results comes confidence, right? And the more opportunities you're going to be able to take advantage of, and the more things that you're going to be able to do. You know, like for instance, I'll use myself as an example. I would have never imagined starting a business like this, let alone having a podcast, let alone talking to 4 or 5 other people on this show, talking about money and personal finance and helping thousands of people across the United States, Canada, and really across the world now manage their finances better. I just never would have imagined I'd be in this position. But when I finally got myself out of debt and people started asking me for help and I started helping them on the side, it started to help them. And guess what? It grew my confidence in helping those people. And the more people I helped, the more confident I got and the more courage I got to say, I'm going to do this full time. And people thought I was freaking nuts. I think, Ryan, you probably thought I was freaking nuts too. There's no way. You're not going to be able to do that. You're not going to be able to open a business like that. I mean, I didn't even believe I could, you know? I think I was a big doubter in it as well, but I was like, I'm going to try it. I want to see if it'll work. And, you know, you over time, as I built that confidence with my finances and then also had the financial security to make such a decision and to be able to, you know, take a risk, it really pushed me in this direction to do this. And now I have this business and when new opportunities, like this podcast, when we started this podcast, guys, a little over 3 years ago, we had no idea what we were doing, but we were like, well, we'll just start it. You know, it's like, what's the worst that's going to happen? But these are the types of things and the benefits that you get from more confidence because you're willing to try more things and do more things because you're not so afraid of failure anymore, you know, because you do have financial security. You do have, you know, an emergency fund. And with financial confidence comes confidence in a lot of other areas in your life.
Well, I think you talk about feeling better and you talk about finding opportunities. You know, those opportunities don't have to be a year, 2, 3 years, 10, 15 years down the road. When we finally made that last commitment, because I say last because we kind of started and fell off the wagon like a lot of people do. When we finally made a commitment that we were not going to do debt anymore, and we set a plan to pay off initially $19,500 within a 6-month period that had to be paid off. Right? It was a personal loan that I had guaranteed. Another story for a different day. We came up with a plan, and part of that plan was I had an old, what we call a Home Depot truck, old beat up truck that still was worth a couple $1,000s. I had put a new motor in it. And I had that truck sitting around. And part of my plan was, how do I come up with $19,500 in the next 6 months? Well, we're going to sell the truck. Because $1,000 here, $2,000 there, it's at least getting started. And before I even had a chance to put that truck on the market, we began doing things a little better. We'll put it that way. My wife had just started a new job, and for some weird reason, the first 6 months she was at that job, they had agreed on a salary, but they were paying her an hourly rate for the first 6 months. Well, it just so happened that not 2 or 3 weeks after we made the commitment, they asked her to work overtime at time and a half. And that went on for 6 weeks. You know, we got half of that money that we needed in the first 6 weeks. And I think a large part of that's just the fact that we decided to start, we changed our mindset, and talk about feeling better. The tail end of that story is we paid that debt off a month early. I got to keep the truck, and I gave it to my brother here a couple of years ago when he was down and out and needed some help and didn't have a vehicle. And so opportunities come in so many forms or fashions. And in this particular story, it was the opportunity for her to work some overtime to just get started and get some traction. And I humbly believe that a large part of that was just because we made the decision that we were going to do things differently.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I love, because I do agree. I mean, once you start building some confidence and you get some wins, I believe confidence breeds confidence, you know? So it's like, if you feel, you know, kind of like we've talked about, if you can build a small emergency fund, that breeds a little bit of confidence. And then it's like, that gets you to the next and to the next and to the next. You're not going to like suddenly have, you're not going to turn from the cowardly lion and then all of a sudden just be perfect right out of the gate, right? It's going to take time. But all those little things that you do are going to kind of just build on each other and keep building that confidence. So I think to me, that's like one of the biggest benefits of building confidence is the more confidence you build, the more confidence you're going to continue to want to build.
And that's important, the little things. When you say like all the little things that you do, building it one small good habit at a time. Don't change everything all at once. It can be a little like daunting, but one small little habit at a time can make all the difference.
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people make the mistake is that they feel like it's got to be these big things. And it doesn't have to be, especially when you're first getting started. Start small. Starting small makes it more manageable too. But I mean, there is actually a formula for building confidence. And the first one is kind of like what Chris said. They made the decision to do it, but they also acted. And that's the first step to building confidence is you got to take action. And what most people do is they don't act, or they don't act long enough. Let's put it that way. They might act out initially. Like everyone's great at starting. There's a lot of people who are great at starting and showing up to the starting line. But where most people fail is sticking with it and consistently taking action on a day-by-day, week-by-week, month-by-month basis and sticking with it. But with action comes improved skills and results, right? And when you get those improved skills and results, yes, you're going to fail along the way too. You're going to try some things. You're going to do some things that aren't going to probably work all that well. Or you're going to find that you're just not good at certain parts of managing your money. Like for me, there's still parts of managing your money that's still a struggle to me. Like when I get bored, I'm still tempted to spend money that's not in our budget on stuff to, give me something to do, right? I mean, that's something I have to struggle with. But when you act, you improve your skills, you fail, you learn, you keep moving, but you're also going to get some great wins. And that's the stuff that's going to build confidence. And you essentially just keep repeating that process over and over again until your confidence is where you want it. But you got to be willing to take action, and you got to be willing to start somewhere. And very much like Amber just suggested, start small. Start with some small things. Get those small wins. And that's what's super powerful about the process that we do share here, because that's what it's all about. It's starting small and starting with a proven process that works.
Yeah, one of my favorite funny quotes, and this just goes back to you just kind of, doing something, do something. And that's, right or wrong, make a decision. The world is filled with flat squirrels that could not make a decision. You know what I mean? I mean, we're all been driving down the road and you see the squirrel, he's in the middle of the road and he's like, literally, you're trying to I don't want to hit you, but he can't decide which way he wants to go. Like, just decide something. And I think I seen that a long time ago, and it's just always stuck with me. Because even to this day, we can get paralyzed by should I do? Oh, I don't know. It's just if you're doing things with the right intention and that's your goal. Yeah. 100% you could fail, but you got to do something. You got to act. And like you said, if you fail, you're going to learn. If you succeed, you're going to learn. But you got to do something. You can't just sit on the sidelines thinking about it and wondering if you should or shouldn't. Just do it.
Yeah. Well, now you're bringing up a whole nother subject of excuses that keep people stuck from taking it. That makes them the squirrel. That makes them the squirrel, right? We could do a whole episode about that.
Yeah, we could. I still am the squirrel in a lot of ways.
Yeah, right. But I think, it's tough sometimes, especially, and I think this goes back to the episode that we did last week on financial stress. And one of the best ways to reduce financial stress is education. And that's also one way to avoid being the squirrel that Ryan just talked about when it comes to building confidence and making a decision is getting the proper education and instruction on what are the right things and what are the right instructions and what are the right directions and focusing on just those, even when it goes against everything inside of you and how you would do it, because let's be honest, the way that you're doing it probably got you to where you are, which is in a good place. So you got to let the ego go, and you just got to be willing to kind of say, okay, I've done it my way. It's not working. I need to just let it go and try something else, right? And I think having that direction, having that education, hopefully prevents you from being the squirrel. But when you're on your own, and you're trying to figure it out on your own, it's very easy to turn into that squirrel. No question.
And knowing where your money's going. I mean, I think that's... If you don't know, if you're not paying attention and you don't know, you're not going to have any confidence at all. There's no reason to have confidence because you don't know where your money's going or why you're in the situation you're in. I think it's really important to know exactly where your money is going and can it cover all of your expenses? And if it can't, you might need to look and see, do I need to earn a little bit more income or what am I cutting out? And you got to make that decision. And just the knowledge is going to help build your confidence.
And I think going back to
another...
Go ahead, Chris.
Well, I was going to say another big thing is we sort of touched on this last week. You're not in this alone. There are other people who are facing the same situations. And we talked about getting in a group, but you've got to be willing to share. You've got to have a teammate. You've got to have, in wrestling, when I coached wrestling, you need a good drill partner. All right. A drill partner is somebody who's going to push you to become better, and you're going to push them to become better. And in the sport of wrestling, a lot of times you'll see if a kid wins the state championship at one weight class from a school, their drill partner is probably very much in the mix for winning the state as well. And so be willing to find a drill partner, a teammate, accountability partner, however you want to call it, and use them as a sounding board, use them for advice. And I say them, it can be more than one person, all right? It can be a community. And be willing to learn, you recognize that the way you were doing things to begin with wasn't working, and learn from other people's successes, push other people, and in turn them push you. That's once you're kind of going, that's the best way to get and maintain confidence. But you got to be willing to open up and share with other people.
Yeah. Well, and I think it really brings value to what we do here on this podcast. We get a lot of people who will reach out and say, you guys really helped me get started and really get me to where I'm at. I mean, look at Patrice Johnson, who was just on our podcast a couple episodes ago. Saved and paid off over $70,000 within the first year and is now debt-free outside of her mortgage. And she got started with our podcast. And she's like, just by doing the stuff on the podcast, I was silly not to go on and join Roots and continue on and look at where she is today. So even if you don't have an individual person, like someone close to you that you can, use this podcast as a sounding board, use our free groups, get engaged with the communities that we have here of people who are already starting to do a lot of the things that we're talking about. And same thing, and Chris is, we did this, when I started this, Chris and I were in a mastermind group, and it was all about, financial coaching and really, just helping each other start our businesses, really work through what it is that we wanted to do, what goals that we had, what things that we were trying, what things didn't work. And it was a great place to be because, I didn't know anybody who was trying to be a financial coach. And, who am I supposed to talk to? So luckily I got connected with Chris, and we had a few other people in our group for a while there. And we were able to meet on a regular basis and talk about some of these challenges and some of these things in growing a business like this. And it was very beneficial and not necessarily always just because of maybe the tips and the tricks that we would learn, but it was mostly just the camaraderie. It was just that there's other people that are trying to do this, and it's not just me out on this island, right? That's all by myself. There are legitimately other people trying to start a business like this. And so having that is comforting, and so when you're going through this and you're looking to build your confidence and getting that, like you said, Chris, that accountability partner is huge. I think it plays a big role.
Well, I think getting around just people who think are trying to do the same things, right? That's getting around people who are trying to do that stuff is what's going to help build confidence. If the world, and we've talked about it in lots of podcasts, the world is debt is normal. So, if you say, hey, I'm going to get out of debt, most people are going to not help you be confident in you doing that. Brad, you and you told me that probably 10 years ago, and I was like, good luck. That's dumb. You're never going to do that. Because that's just what we think. People aren't doing it on purpose. It's just so weird for someone to do that. So I think getting around people who share that idea and that want to do that is going to help you build that confidence. You've got to surround yourself with people or groups of people, and not just try to go it alone, because that is going to be hard to do. And
find the people that are going to challenge your thinking too. You want to also be careful not to try to find people that are going to make you feel comfortable being broke and staying broke, right? Yep. You want to find the group of people that's like, no, we're not okay with that. We don't want to be broke. We want out of the paycheck to paycheck life. We don't want to, focus on that. We want to improve here, and That's what you want. You don't want to, you want a group of people who's going to push you, not keep you comfortable, because comfortable, nothing changes. You want someone who's going to be able to push you outside your comfort zone a little bit, and that community is going to be huge in your progress. And this is one of the number one pieces of feedback that we get from our Roots members. And I would love it to say that it was me, but they say a big part of it is the Roots community. It's the group that's there, that's helping them and supporting them through the process. That's played a huge role, probably one of the top roles in helping them get out of debt, is having that group there of like-minded people who they can see are pushing them and motivating them to make these changes and build that confidence over time.
So going back to the mastermind real quick, we had a thing called a hot seat, if you remember.
Yeah. Yep.
And about once every 4 or 5 meetings, it was my turn to be on the hot seat. And I had to go into the mastermind meeting with a topic that I wanted to discuss with the other members of the mastermind. And I had to think through it. I had to understand what it is that I wanted to propose, and I had to be able to articulate it, which is a whole another level of education and understanding. But I also had to be willing for people to give their opinions and their feedback. And was very valuable. And Brad, I think you may remember, I told you that I didn't like the name Roots of Personal Finance. Good thing you didn't listen to me, but at least you had a sounding board. And the same thing comes over with your community and with a group of like-minded people, as Ryan says, is you got to be willing to put yourself out there, and you've got to be the person that says, no, that's not a smart thing, but you've got to be willing to listen when somebody else tells you the same thing. And that's how you grow, and that's how you educate to some degree and become more confident as you go forward.
So the Totally Awesome Debt Freedom Planner is helping so many people make consistent progress with their finances. Whether that be building emergency funds, paying down bills, budgeting, tracking paydays, saving up for larger purchases, goal planning, and planning for those irregular yearly expenses that always seem to catch you by surprise. Now, the Debt Freedom Planner will help you take the stress out of managing your money. And if the thought is running through your mind, hey, I just need to have a simple tool to get my finances together, this planner is perfect for you. Head over to therealdebtfreedad.com, click on the Debt Freedom Planner in the menu at the top of the page, and order your Debt Freedom Planner today.
Let's talk about that, baby. Let's talk about your money. Let's talk about all the good things, all the bad things that may be. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
All right, that sound means it's time for the celebrations of the show today, and Amber is going to be kicking it off for us today.
With Sandy Kurtz Jarrett, my raise went into effect on this paycheck. I redid my budget to account for the extra income.
There you go, Sandy. Yep. Congratulations to you. Robbie Donahue added $20 to my Christmas envelope. Fantastic, Robbie. I love that you're planning ahead. That's a great win.
And I think I got the best one. Carol Thompson Hernandez. She made an extra principal-only payment on her house. She made an extra principal-only payment on her car. Why? Because she could.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Carol, great win.
Melissa Story, I have paid $7,738.26 towards credit card debt this past month.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's a huge chunk of money, Melissa. Congratulations to you, and congratulations to all of you guys who are working so hard at getting out of debt. And remember, if you're just getting started with our podcast, or maybe you've been listening for some time and you're interested how you can get started on the road to financial freedom, you can head over to our website at balancesense.com and sign up for our free Life Without Payments workshop, where I am going to show you the very first steps that have helped tens of thousands of people just like you and I kick financial stress and worry for good.
Thanks for listening to the Debt Free Dad podcast. Connect with us on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram at Brad Nelson Debt Free Dad. If you found value in today's episode, please leave a rating and review. We so appreciate it. For resources, show notes, and links mentioned in today's show, visit balancedsense.com. That's balancedsense, CENTS.com. Catch you next week.